And good evening, everybody. Everybody needs to share the tax increase burden. That was just part of the message in Governor Dannel Malloy's budget address earlier today.
Governor Malloy is also proposing cuts in state government, no new spending, and huge union concessions. News 8 has team coverage this evening. We begin with News 8's chief political correspondent, Mark Davis, who joins us live from the state capitol. Mark?
Good evening, Keith and Ann. Good evening, everyone from the state capitol in Hartford. Saying that what they proposed so far is not nearly enough, Governor Dannel Malloy says the state labor unions have got to give, and they've got to give big.
Malloy made it very clear today that if he does not get $2 billion in concessions from the state labor unions, there will be dire consequences.
It would require us to lay off thousands of state workers, which is to say there is no alternative. We have to get it done.
It was the toughest talk during his nearly 40-minute address.
I don't make these suggestions to be antagonistic, just realistic.
He made the same plea to local teacher unions across the state.
We have done our part in increasing funding for education, but we need all of you to step to the plate, as some of you already have.
It is an honest budget. There are no gimmicks, but it relies too heavily on tax increases. We need to do more to trim the size and scope of state government.
Here's why the Republicans say that. The current year spending is $19.3 billion. Malloy's first-year budget is for $19.7 billion, and $20.2 billion in the second year, with a built-in surplus of $800 million. The governor says that the increases only reflect actual increases in costs that can't be stopped.
You know what? Just like in our household, my electric bill goes up, my cable bill goes up, but you have to make allowances elsewhere. You have to bring down the total cost of
You don't think there's enough of that?
There's none of it.
I'm still very concerned about the amount of tax increases. $1.5 billion in tax increases, the largest tax increase in our state's history, seems to be going in the wrong direction.
If you look at the overall budget, there are less than half of the problem is dealt with through taxes, and I think that's a reasonable approach.
Here's the breakdown of who's going to be paying those taxes, who's going to be paying the bulk of them. The governor's budget director says that about 80% of that $1.5 billion in tax hikes would come from individual taxpayers, 38% from couples who make over $250,000 a year, and 20% would come from the state's business community. Live at the state capitol in Hartford, Mark Davis, News 8.